welcome to the True Crime Cocktail Hour on Friday evenings, and my first episode. So here we are. So just a heads up, just because this is called the True Crime Cocktail Hour, this is not really about drinking. This is just about true crime. You know, I'm gonna bring back the good old cocktail hour. So if you want to have a drink with me, be my guest. I would love to. If you do, just please drink responsibly and don't get in a car. Other than that, just feel free to do whatever you like. I don't know, do your nails, get ready for your date, fold laundry. Another thing, really quick. First of all, I'm filming this with my phone, and if the audio and the video quality is not that fancy, I apologize. I'm just figuring this all out. This is my first video ever on YouTube, so I will improve. To make things even worse, today's case is not really a murder case. It's a case about rape and sexual assault. Trust me on this, I know so many cases, and it really takes something for a case to really get stuck in my mind, you know, and just gets me like, what? I really like those mysterious cases where you don't really know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy and whatnot. And from now on, I'm going to be here every Friday evening, and we're just going to see how things are going. Feel free to subscribe if you want, but if you don't, no biggie. So cheers, and if you don't have any questions, let's get into today's case, and here we go. I'm nervous. So today's case takes place in Kipling, Canada in 1992. If you don't know Kipling, don't feel bad. It's a small farmer's town southeast of Canada. It has like 1,000 people living there, more or less, which is great. You know, everybody knows everybody by first name, and there's a great community. So everybody helps out, you know. But on the other hand, I guess it's got its disadvantages, because since everybody knows you, everybody knows your business. But other than that, it seems like a great town to grow up in. You know, it has a great school district, low crime rate. And in 1992, there lived a woman called Candice Fonagy. I'm gonna call her just Candice or Candy. And she was 23 years old at the time. She was a single mom. She had one kid. She finished high school, and then she went on to work at a gas station. She also had a new relationship with this guy, Danny, or Daniel, I assume. Anyway, on Halloween 1992, she and Danny, they end up having a horrible fight. I couldn't figure out what it was about, and it actually doesn't matter, but I just know that things got really heated really quickly. And it got so bad that eventually Candice just storms off, okay? She can't take it anymore. So now she's wandering the streets, and she doesn't really know what to do or where to go at this point. I guess all she knows is that, you know, I just need to talk to somebody. I just need to calm down, because let me tell you, she was absolutely beside herself. She was furious. Now, luckily, a good friend of hers was working as a nurse at a hospital that was just basically around the corner, you know, small town. And it's 1992, you folks, you know, so this means if you want to check if someone is at home or at work, you just go there, you know, no phones or whatever. So Candy decides to walk over to the hospital and see if her friend is working that day. Maybe she has some advice for her. Maybe she can calm her down a little bit. But when she walks to the hospital, unfortunately, she has to realize that her friend is not working that day. She's off her shift, and Candice is actually about to go. She's about to leave again. But the other nurses, they seem to be really worried about her, because like I said, she was just absolutely beside herself, and she just couldn't calm down. So the other nurses, they walk up to her and they tell her, you know what, you don't seem to be doing so well right now, and we would feel really bad if we would just let you go home like that. So how about this? You go and wait in one of the treatment rooms, and we have the doctor on duty, you know, come visit you and check up on you. Maybe he can give you a prescription, something that will calm you down. And if you start to feel better, you can go home. And since Candice doesn't really know what else to do, she agrees. You know, it sounds like a plan. So she goes up to one of the treatment rooms, and she waits there for the doctor on duty to arrive. Who is this doctor on duty? Let me tell you. The doctor on duty that night was a doctor called John Schneeberger. He was actually born in South Africa, in a town that we today know as Zambia. This is also where he spent his entire childhood, where he went to medical school, and where he also got his medical degree. But in 1978, he decided to move to Canada, where he meets this girl, Lisa, and they fall in love and they get married. Now, Lisa has been previously married, and she's got 2 children out of that first marriage, but she and John, they end up having 2 kids of their own. So, 4 kids for John and Lisa. And overall, John seemed to be like a well-respected member of the community, really. I mean, he was a doctor, and a good one at that. He was a husband, a father, a family man, and he was also greatly involved in communities work. I read somewhere that he helped raise money to build a public swimming pool and things like that, so he seemed to be a really nice guy. And as a matter of fact, he and Candice, they know each other, because as a matter of fact, John helped deliver Candice's baby when she was pregnant. So John arrives at the treatment room, and he takes a look at Candice, and he asks her what happened, and she tells him, and she's still absolutely furious. I guess she's in tears and whatnot. And John, he tells her, you know what, I can give you an injection, like right here and now, that will calm you down a little bit. Maybe it can help you sleep. And Candice agrees. So he gives her the injection, and Candice calms down, but not in a way that she expected. She starts to feel really dizzy. Everything around her is blurry, and she can't seem to control her arms or muscles or anything, really, not even her facial muscles. And even though she's on the verge of passing out, she doesn't. She's still aware of what is going on around her, and sadly, she comes to realize that she's being raped. Now, Candice, at some point, she does pass out. She falls asleep, and when she wakes up, things are looking bad. First of all, her underwear is not really in a place where she'd last seen it. And in addition, there seem to be traces of semen in her underwear. She's completely alone. Oh boy, she panics. She's like, oh fuck, man, this actually happened to me, I didn't hallucinate that. And then she has like a presence of mind, like, oh my god, wait a second, I got the DNA of my perpetrator right here, but I need to preserve it, otherwise it can't be analyzed or tested or whatever. So she grabs a plastic bag that was just lying in the room somewhere, and she puts her panties in there. Here's the thing that you need to know about Candice. She seems to be like a really confident woman, and she has a sense of justice, and she's not taking anybody's crap, really. So she packs up her stuff, she leaves the treatment room, and she walks straight up to this doctor guy, and she confronts him, asking him, what did you do to me last night? What did you give to me last night? And he basically just blew her off, saying something like, quote, why? Did it give you wild dreams? I know. So this is it for Candice. Like, this is the final clue that this actually happened to her, and he's the one who did it. But she also knows at the same time, like, obviously he's going to deny it, and it's going to be a fight. But things are looking pretty good for Candice. I mean, she got the DNA right in this plastic bag. So she walks up to police, and she files a report. She tells them what happened. And police, they walk up to John, and they tell him, hey, listen, like, this young lady here says you did rape her in the treatment room over there. And obviously, John denies it. And not only that, he also got an explanation why she would think that she was being raped. And his explanation was that the medicine that he gave to her to calm her down, it can cause erotic hallucinations as a side effect. Doesn't really explain the semen, but okay. So actually, for police, this is like a pretty easy case, because all they have to do is get their hands on John's DNA, and then they can compare it to the DNA that was found in Candice's underwear, and then everybody will see if he's actually guilty or not. So he's asked to give his blood voluntarily, which he is, which he does. And overall, John is really, really friendly with police, very charming, very cooperative, and he's willing to help. So he's like, hell yeah, absolutely, here, take my blood. I want this to be solved as well. So police like, okay, great, here, we're going to take your blood. But John makes an odd request. He explains that because he's a doctor and he has got very sensitive hands, if you're just going to stick a needle in there, it can cause horrible bruising. It just wouldn't look good with patients and all. So he asked the police if they could take the blood from his vein instead. Now, since he is giving his blood voluntarily, there's nothing really they can do about it. They have to grant him his wish. So police like, yeah, well, okay, whatever. So someone is taking John's blood. Results come back a couple of weeks later, and guess what? Again, John was given the opportunity to give his blood voluntarily, and again, he does. Although this time, second blood testing, okay? This time, police, they step it up a notch, you know? They have a nurse take John's blood, again, from the vein, and police is standing right next to it, supervisioning everything, you know? And as soon as the nurse is done, they take the specimen tube and they bring it straight to the lab and have it analyzed. So every possibility of a mix-up is absolutely out of the question at this point. But the test results come in. And again, not a match. It's not a match. Apparently, John is innocent after all. So Candice is like, oh shit, man. That's not even the worst part, you know? If that wasn't bad enough, like things... Could you move? Come sit down. Things got even worse. This is a small town, and people talk, you know? And the word spread that Candice, this 23-year-old single mother who's working at a gas station, is accusing Dr. Good Guy over here of rape. And obviously they're all Team John. So they end up telling like the most horrific things about her, really. Like that she wanted attention. Maybe she was in love with him and he turned her down. And this was her act of revenge. Or maybe they were having an affair, but he refused to leave his wife for her. And this is her act of revenge. And I don't know about you guys, but if I was Candice at that point, I would have folded. You know, I mean, what else could you do? Even if I still thought that I was right, I probably would pack up my things and leave to another country. Nothing really I can do at this point. Guess he is innocent and guess I'm out of here. Bye. But not Candice. She's got some balls on her, let me tell you. She is still determined to bring this guy to justice. Although this time Candice is she does it a little bit differently, and she decides to investigate a little bit on her own, but she has help. She hires a private investigator called Larry O'Brien. And the plan was that Larry is going to try and get his hands on John's DNA, without him knowing, obviously. And they're going to send the DNA in at Candice's own expenses, and they have it analyzed to actually be sure that nobody is playing a foul game here. So while John is at work, Larry breaks into his car, and he finds the DNA that he's looking for. And he finds it in the form of a lip balm. So he takes the lip balm with him. They have it sent to the lab. And what do you know? Results come back. Now, what do you think happened? It is a perfect match. So this is like the first kind of victory for Candice. Proof that she is not crazy. And apparently something went just horribly wrong with these two first DNA tests. Boy, if she wasn't sure before, she sure as hell is now. She's ready to fight again. And she goes to police again and files a report. I hired this private investigator and we got the DNA and it's a match. You know, I don't know what happened before, but this is proof that I am not crazy and I'm not making this up and I'm not hallucinating all of this. This actually happened and he needs to be in jail. This time, this whole thing goes to court. Now everybody's there. Candy is there and John is there. And John's wife is there, supporting him obviously. And she hates Candice's gut. Oh my god. And who couldn't really blame her? There's this woman that she doesn't even know, trying to ruin her husband, ruin his career, and their family. But Candice is just like, you know what? She's staying perfectly calm, and she's like, the truth will come out eventually. And if I were you, I would keep an eye on my husband, because in the worst case possible, this whole thing can happen in your own four walls. Now, what happens in court? The judge is like, okay, yeah, like this is a match. On the other hand, you know, we can't really be 100% sure that DNA on the lip balm actually belongs to John, and that's why we need to do an official DNA test. Again, for the third time. I guess everybody is kind of fed up with it, so they want to eliminate every possibility that there's a mix-up or something going wrong. John, again, is given the opportunity to give his blood voluntarily, which he does. This time, John is asked to show up at the forensic lab, and yes, they're going to take it from the vein. Again, police is standing there watching everything, and as an extra, they have a video camera installed, filming this whole procedure. Now, all you can see in the video really is John sitting at a table, and one of the lab technicians, her name is Jean, taking his blood. Now, since John decided to give his blood voluntarily, he's free to go, which he does, he's out of the room. Now something odd happens, because apparently one of Jean's colleagues is standing behind the camera, working it, filming everything, and for some reason, he or she didn't turn off the camera when John left the room. And all you can see now is Jean standing in front of this table, and she's looking at the specimen tube, and she's looking at it, and she keeps looking at it, and she seems to be really confused. Big question mark on her face and all, and eventually she looks up to her colleague standing behind the video camera, and she tells him, "Hey, can you take a look at this blood? Like, don't you think it looks weird?" Fun fact, I'm a lab technician myself. I think everybody of you had his blood taken at some point in his life, right? And all of you should know how blood looks if you take it like freshly from the vein, right? It does have like a very bright red color. It's very watery. This is not by accident. In these specimen tubes that they use, it has like enzymes and anticoagulants in it that prevent the blood from clotting prematurely. So you can use it for a certain amount of time for analyzing. However, this won't work forever. At some point, the anticoagulants are wasted, which means the blood will start to clot eventually, and it will turn like a really dark red color. It will start to thicken, and that, my friends, is how John's blood would look like right after she took it out of his body, which quite frankly is impossible. Blood should not look like that. So obviously Jean is confused. What the hell? So she goes ahead and she tries to analyze it anyway, but surprise, surprise, can't be analyzed because for some reason the blood is too poor of condition. And I couldn't figure this out, but they decided to not repeat the blood test. In 1994, 2 years after Candice fought for justice, this whole case is closed. And there's nothing really she can do about it. She just has to accept the facts and move on with her life. This story is not over. 3 years go by. It's 1997 now. And guess who shows up at police station? John's wife, Lisa, and her teenage daughter, aka John's stepdaughter. Because, get this, Lisa sadly found out that John had been raping her daughter. So police, they question the daughter, and she ends up telling the exact same story as Candice. That John came into her room one night and he gave her some kind of injection and she starts to feel really dizzy. Everything is numb, she can't move, but she is aware of what John is doing to her. So this time, John is arrested immediately, probably because she's a minor. And also in the daughter's case, semen was found. So what are they gonna do? Another DNA test, the fourth. Yeah, John doesn't have anything to say about how the blood or how his DNA is taken. So obviously he's gonna ask the police to take his blood from the vein, but police is like, "No, John, no. We're fed up with this shit. Fuck you, bruises. We're gonna take your DNA the way we want to." So they take his blood from the finger. They also take his hair, and they're also gonna take his saliva. And all of a sudden, John isn't that friendly and charming and cooperative anymore. He seems to be rather scared. They have it compared not only to his stepdaughter's case, but also to Candice's case again. And in both cases, DNA is a perfect match. And John is convicted of rape. John is convicted. He's sentenced to 6 years in prison. He also has to leave Canada. He lost his medical license. Lisa divorced him, as she should. But not only that, it got even worse for her, because she had to pay John a ton of money after he was sentenced to prison. Because, get this, Lisa refused to take their other kids to go see John while he was in custody. And I'm like, yeah. Word got around that he was indeed convicted and that he was the one who did it and that Candice was right all along. Good for Candice. But there was still like a lot of people who thought, okay, no freaking way. He's innocent. Such a good guy. Nice doctor, and this can't be true. Like, he's innocent. And even his brother, he's got a younger brother, I think, and he is also a doctor. And he once gave a statement to the media saying something like, "I know my brother's no saint, but he did not do it." Yeah, so this was a hot topic. Everybody was talking about it. Now, actually, this is the end of the story. Candice got justice, and he's sentenced to prison. Great. Now, obviously, you're gonna ask yourself, okay, what was going on with these first 2 DNA tests? Something was up. Let me tell you. John eventually he was like, well, you caught me, because I can also confess to everything. And he also tells investigators how he was able to jinx the DNA test 3 times, actually. This dude went and surgically inserted himself a plastic tube into his vein that was filled with blood of one of his male patients. John over here basically pulled you good old blood switcheroo. Like, at some point in the video, you can actually see the plastic tube, because obviously it's a thick tube, you know, it's gonna show under your skin. And this is why John was always very careful to wear long sleeve shirts. And I thought about this, you know, even if you are a doctor, and even if you went to medical school and all, I don't think you come up with a plan like that, like during your lunch break or while you're on a can, you know. I think you actually have to sit down and think about this for a second. You know, even do like an alpha or beta testing, I don't know, before you proceed with whatever you want to do. So guys, we made it through my first episode. Holy shit, you know, I'm out of breath. Well, anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you somewhat enjoyed this video. I'm gonna be here next week, and I'm gonna improve. I don't know what case I'm gonna cover. If you got any case suggestions, you know, write them in the comments. I'm happy to read those, and let me know what you think about this case, really. Also, since I guess I'm a YouTuber now, go and hit that subscribe button if you want to, but if you don't, that's also fine, no biggie. You know, I'm new here, and we're just getting to know each other, so, you know, take your time. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you, and a great week after that as well. Be safe out there, and I'll see you next Friday. Cheers.